Two Jack Bros. Two Jack Bros.
Are you a good delegator?
I'm never really in a position to delegate that much. I teach, so you know you're always giving students assignments, but that's not It's not a supervisor.
Do you do any like Monday morning delegation? Like you like look at the delegation that's happening. You're like, nah, I'm gonna delegate. It's so different.
There's no one for me to delegate to. I'm at the bottom rung of my department.
But you don't see delegation happening. Is that how far away from delegation you are?
You seen? Do I see delegation happening? No, because we've been working remote for the last few years. I haven't seen anything. I don't see too much corporate structure or anything. It's not like I tell the dog what to do. He doesn't listen. Not that he had any skills to begin with.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like representative to like your power in the company. Like how far away from delegating you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because you laugh at that like with like because you're in delegation meetings.
Yeah. I do a lot of delegating.
Yeah?
I get work requests and I have to send them to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some stuff at my job that I need to delegate, but there's just no. So it just doesn't. It's just not getting done. And I told somebody I was going to do it. And they're like, "You sure you want to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then I started doing it, and I was like, "This is below my pay grade, but there's no pay grade below me, so it just doesn't get done." I need like an intern or assistant or something, but I don't know who that is.
That's quite a conundrum.
Yeah.
There's nobody here that makes low enough amount of money to do this work, but I need it done.
I mean, we're in a weird. It's like, why are the toilets clogged? I don't know. We don't have a lower caste at this company. Everyone's equal, so we don't have toilets.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm just in charge of the lower class cast. That's
Yeah.
all. I'm like, well, we'll take care of your toilets.
Do you ever meditate?
I try. I can't do it just with the breathing. I have to do it. I have to like go into my head. That's the only way I can relax. I have to like close my eyes.
Inception yourself?
Yeah, I have to like the way that I can like clear my head. Spin a dreidel. No, I go into my head and I like just like really focus on like seeing mental images, and then I can get lost in that. But I can't get lost in the breathing.
Like images of landscapes or images of...
It's like all kinds of things. I don't know. It's like you'll see. It's mostly like clouds and water and you'll see
Parts
outlines
of landscapes.
Yeah.
the whole thing.
No, but it's like outlines of people that I don't know. It's weird. I just kind of do it because I can focus on it, and it takes me out of anxiety.
So if you don't mind me asking, is what you're doing? You're like looking off into the void, and whatever kind of weird shape that occurs, you just allow yourself to see that and attach it to something.
Well, I close my eyes.
Yeah.
And so images come up, in the darkness, and I just kind of try to focus on them because they're like very, what's the word I'm looking for? They're fickle. Like if I don't like hold on to it, the images will disappear. And I would have realized it's not really holding on to it. I have to kind of like release myself and let myself like kind of go off into this. It's kind of like when people die and you like go off into a light.
Yeah.
If I do it intensively enough, I haven't done this in a long time, I can enter into a lucid dream.
Okay.
But those are terrifying. I cannot go into my head while my brain knows I'm in there. It'll attack me.
Like a bunch of Agent Smiths come
Yeah,
after you.
basically. That's like in Inception. Like remember when they found out? They were like, who is this lady? It's not supposed to be, and they just try to rip her apart.
Yeah.
That's what my psyche does. It does not like me going in there.
Man, do you ever accidentally slip into that like an Agent Smith when you're meditating? Do you ever see them? Do you ever feel like they're coming?
No, it's just like there's like a feeling of dread.
While you're meditating?
Yeah, well, it's not really meditation. Well, it's like if I go into the lucid dream, it's like I feel it. It's like I guess I have a lot of negative thoughts, and like I can hold them at bay.
You?
Yeah, I can hold them at bay when I'm just like living my life. But if I just go into my brain, it's like now I'm surrounded. I'm in there with those thoughts, so it's kind of harder to avoid them.
I think this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. So you know what we do here, right? I mean, do you have an idea what we do here?
I have an idea. I was reading the description and I'm looking at the stuff
Yeah, it's all here.
on the wall. It
It's all
looks
here.
like
It's
I'm
no,
about to.
it's no secret.
I feel like I'm about to get audited by like a Scientology.
That's basically what this
Yeah.
is. You nailed it. Yeah. So, I mean, what we're really trying to do is prove that you can have an inappropriate sense of humor and still reach enlightenment. And so we just drag another human through the process of enlightenment and we absorb everything we can collaterally so we don't have to do it ourselves.
I'm really into Taoism.
Yeah?
Yeah, I used to read a lot about that. And I actually have a comedy book called The Tao of Comedy. And
Yeah.
it goes into it talks about stand up, mostly like performing and writing from like a Taoist perspective.
Okay. How would you describe, what's your tagline for Taoism?
Just kind of, it's like the thing with where I'm talking about when I focus on those images in my head and just trying to go into them. It's kind of like letting go and, not fighting it or trying to force it.
Yeah.
And just kind of being, which is, I think, what happens when I get into my brain and things start to get haywire and I get scared. I think that's me like getting like a little bit of like a negative feeling and like starting to resist and like I gotta get out of here.
Okay, Ansley, hold on. Brandon and I are going to have a little discussion about taglines.
Oh, sorry, I got lost.
So like a Taoism tagline.
Yeah, I'm not good at writing copy, so I'm having this problem right now with my show.
Is Taoism a yin yang thing?
No, not exactly. It's just like an overall philosophy of just kind of not forcing things.
Okay.
Just trying to just be.
All right. Okay. So okay, now I get your other description.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I got it. All right. So let's do this. You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. So everybody gets the same questions.
Okay.
So what experience or situation do you feel like has given you the most information?
The most information.
Yeah, and you answer that however it hits you.
Most information.
Yeah, especially like if it's information that you use going forward in life. Like what experience gave you that information?
I think grad school. When I went to grad school, because it was like I actually just wrote an article about this. It was kind of it's not a word, I don't think, a conflation. I'm just going to make a word up. A conflation.
I think conflation's a word.
Yeah, maybe. Of different things I was experiencing new at the same time, which was going to grad school and dealing with the kind of rigor of academic research at a high level. And then also was doing stand-up, and I was, I think, 2 years in at the time, so I was learning a lot about stand-up at the same time. And I was also going to the school gym every day and working on my jump shot very intensively. And those three things kind of like, it kind of tangled together all at once, where I kind of realized, same thing with like Taoism is like the secret to really performing and in the moment and being real and genuine is to let go and just do. And that was like the thing with, especially with shooting a basketball for years. I was
holding on to the ball.
holding on to the ball.
Pump
like it's stuck to my hand.
Pumping. Damn, Kobe, shoot the ball.
Yeah, basically, and I just like I'd always thought of basketball in terms of form,
Yeah.
right?
Rather than flow.
Yeah, and so I was always like worried about where my hands were and where my knees were and how my feet were placed, and I was trying to do this while I was shooting. I didn't know that nobody ever told me anything. So I didn't know you weren't supposed to like try to perform and think about it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until I was studying linguistics and was studying the structure of English language, which is my native language, obviously. And I learned all these things about the English language that are automatic for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a native speaker. But there was things that I like grammar functions that I use that I had no idea that I was using them.
Like, what do you mean?
Like the present perfect.
Okay, what
So
is that?
Present perfect. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Ansley, can you give me a sentence in the present perfect, please?
I will be going
No.
to. Oh,
All right, so what is
I am going.
No, that's the present progressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, so he's laughing down at us.
No, because I was at the same place you were when I was going to grad school. I didn't know any of this. I felt really weird. I'm just like, this is my language.
I remember learning
Yeah.
this in as far as I got in Spanish. They were trying to teach me this, and
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what it is in English. Like, I
crazy.
can't learn it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is give me a present perfect
So
sentence.
it's like I have been
Yeah.
talking to you for the last 10 minutes.
Okay. Oh, so you're describing exactly what we're still doing in this moment.
Yeah, so
It's
that
perfectly in the present.
Yeah, it's perfectly. There's like a reason why it's called the perfect, and every time I read it or someone explains it to me, I'm like, I still don't get it.
I think that's the way I'll
Yeah.
remember it now. Like perfectly in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with completion, but it's not completion. So it's usually describing things you started in the past and are still doing.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
that's like ongoing.
Yeah.
In the moment.
So it's like a relative grammar, and it is very complicated as far as trying to teach people to use it explicitly. But it's like I've been using it my whole life. You know, a baby, you know, a 2-year-old might be able to use it, but they don't know that that's what they're doing. It's just kind of an automatic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same someone who, like, if you grew up playing a sport, or it's basketball, soccer, a lot of that stuff is going to be automatic. You don't think about it.
Yeah. Well,
And,
that's
yeah.
what all the drilling is for.
Yeah. And I think I had never drilled anything before, you know? I never actually, I thought practice and doing were the same thing. I didn't know how to separate them.
You were Iverson.
That's the opposite. Iverson thought there was no practice. There is no. He's always playing, and if it doesn't count, why am I doing it?
Well, that's why it was all the same thing for him.
Yeah.
It was like practice. Dude, I play. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, so that's what, all right. That's a really okay, so again, so your most informed experience was the culmination of all the things that was happening to you at grad school.
Yeah.
Being grad school, one, like learning how to actually research, comedy, all the things that you were learning about communication, making people laugh, and ball,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. But I had to, because of my learning style, I am an academic at heart. I had to learn it intellectually in order to be able to go up on stage and be like, I'm just going to let go and perform. Because
Yeah.
I know intellectually that that's the correct way to do it. But I never would have figured that out by doing it.
Okay, I had a similar experience. Like when I really got my jump shot good, it was first of all it was like a mind blowing experience.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was like, oh, I can just put it in the basket.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't have to like throw it up at the rim and just hope that I did it in the same area as last time.
This is the thing I was so confused about, is because this happened my whole life where I'd be trying to practice my shot and I'm just like cannot figure this out. And then at one point I get out of frustration, I would just throw it up and it goes in and I'm like, I would get furious. And then, I finally realized it's like, I know how to shoot a basketball. It's not that complicated. I can't perfect it.
Yeah.
Right. But I know the basics of how to do it physically. And if I just throw it up there and focus on the basket, I'm more than likely going to make the shot than not make it.
Yeah.
Than if I was trying to think about it while I was doing it. So after learning that, it felt so weird. I couldn't understand it because I was trying to still intellectualize it on the back end. I'll be like, why can't I remember shooting the ball when I make it? It's almost like you shoot it and you start shooting and then the next thing you know, you're like this and the ball's in the hoop.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how am I supposed to remember how to do that again if I can't remember it? And it didn't occur to me. It's like, you don't need to remember what you're doing while you're doing it. You just need to do it.
Yeah, that's a tough thing for people to understand about life, period, because I think people have this fantasy of being in control
Yeah.
of the moment or what it means to be in the zone. You know, it's like when you're in the zone, you're like a zombie to the zone. You're giving yourself to the moment. You don't have time to also be steering the moment, you know, which is a really complicated thing. That's, Ansley, by the way, are you winning bets with yourself with how long it took two black people to start talking about basketball? Like when he said jump shot, you were like, yes.
I did take note.
It all comes back to basketball with me at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's the most relatable thing that I do.
Yeah.
People are just like,
you're a shocking ball is life guy.
yeah, it shocks me as well.
Yeah.
I'm always like, but it puts me in a situation where I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to talk about basketball in front of these people because then they're gonna be like, okay, where did you play? And I was like 26th Street. It's like I don't have a lot of credibility.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's all right. So how did you learn to overcome fear?
I did not.
What?
Yeah.
You scared?
Yeah.
Why are you so scared?
Because it's scary. I'm just like, I'm scared of certain things. Like, this is the thing is like why I had to stop smoking weed when I was like after college is because it's like the same thing, like letting go. I lose control of my thought process. And if I hit any kind of negative track, it's very difficult to like get off of it. And now I'm resisting it. And now I'm having a panic attack. So I'm mostly like, I don't know exactly what I'm afraid of. I think I'm afraid of putting myself in certain situations because I know once I get into one of those awkward, tense situations, it takes a long time for me to like recover from it.
It's a weird thing to hear a comedian say as a non-comedian.
Yeah, I guess so. With comedy, I think with comedy, I tend to not take it as personally when things go weird. I probably more blame it on the audience. I'm like, that's their fault. Where maybe in real life, I would take it more like, I fucked this up. When I'm on stage, I don't feel, I'm like, this is what happens up here. It gets weird sometimes.
What is an example of a situation that you would be in where you're like, this would be a fair, like this would be a like prototypical terrifying situation for me. I mean, you can make it up. It doesn't have to be something that really happened.
I'm trying to think of what I've been doing lately.
Because it all scares me. Waking up, eating breakfast.
I don't know. I can't think right now of something. Maybe I'm not as scared as I used to be because I don't know. I don't think fear is a big motive. I don't know. I haven't been doing anything.
Yeah.
I haven't been out of my comfort zone in a while because of the quarantine and the shutdown and things are kind of still moving back slowly. And so I'm like,
Would it be like social situations, like going to the bar and like
I hate
mingling
going to
and-
the bar because I don't know how to relate to. I'm not a mime. I can't like do this or you're trying to talk to people, and it's like I need to be able to have a conversation with people. So I
Like,
don't
what do you
like
mean I'm
going
not
to
a
bars.
mime? Like, because the music is so loud and everything?
Yeah. So it's like I can't really. I haven't been back in a bar like socially, really hardly at all since things have opened back up because I never like it. Always caused me a lot of anxiety because I can't communicate. I'm like I'm always about communicating.
Yeah.
And, my knees are fucked up, so I can't dance like I used to. So it's like I don't have anything else to offer except to talk to people.
You got to save those knees for the jump shots.
Yeah. I got like
Yeah.
6 a week I can get up. And,
All right. So I mean, do you feel like you just avoid a lot of situations then?
The thing is, especially, and this is like maybe a Delaware thing, I don't have to avoid things. I just don't leave. It's like 45 minutes to get anywhere. So it's just like, I got to go do something that I'm afraid of, and I also have to drive for an hour. Like it's too much, and I think there's a lot of things that I just don't leave my comfort zone just because it's so inconvenient.
Your comfort zone has like an actual geography to it.
Like the state of Delaware.
It's just the marsh that's around.
Yeah, we can like GPS it.
Yeah, because it's like I was flying this weekend. This is only the second time I've ever flew.
Yeah.
I've never really been on a plane that much, and I don't really travel. I haven't left the country. Delaware is a very like cozy place.
Yeah. So was it scary for you to fly?
It wasn't scary. It wasn't like the first time I fly. It wasn't scary at all, but it was like a weird. I didn't realize how like fast the plane goes when it's taking off. It's like it's being launched out of a rocket. I was like, I didn't know about that. They didn't. You can't feel that.
Nobody felt the need to tell you
No,
planes go
you
fast.
can't feel that in the movie theater.
But you see people like go back, like in the movie. Like
Yeah, but they're always like in danger. You know what I mean? They're always like, it's never like.
You thought that was a fear move?
Yeah, it was like most movies when they're just taking off. Everybody's like, all right, we're on our way out of here. And then only time you see in the movies where it's crazy is like they're running away from someone. They're being shot at by some Nazis and they gotta take off.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So like, was it quickly dispersed? Like, oh shit, nobody else is okay. We're good.
Yeah. So I was fine, except the flight back from Indianapolis this time, the plane was like shaking, and it felt, and I'm sitting like right next to the engine. I can like see it, and there's always like this. There's this feeling sometimes where it feels like the plane is stalling out. I know that can't be happening because nobody else is freaking out, but it's like it feels like the plane is like like that, like it's like
the air pocket thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, is that normal? Nobody else is.
Yeah, it's a little turbulence.
Yeah.
You're a little turbulence.
I expect turbulence to be like there has to be like a hurricane or something. Like I didn't think you could just have turbulence on like a clear sunny day. So I was like, there's something wrong with the plane.
I guess that's like in movies. If there's ever
Yeah.
turbulence on a clear sunny day, it's also with the guy who has like something wrong with his brain.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like making him more paranoid.
Yeah.
Well, that's like a thing about movies, especially if we watch so much more movies and television than people did, 50, 60 years ago. It's like hard whenever you're in like an actual traumatic experience. It feels unreal because you're used to experiencing it in the third person, watching it in a movie with music to signal how to feel and cuts and zooms on the action. And so when something crazy happens in real life and you're just kind of watching it in standstill, you're just like, is this really happening? Should I be more, where's the, you're waiting for like the orchestra to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I feel like that happens to a lot of people. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people take their social cues from movies, so that like when a person is telling them a lie, you should be able to look at their face and see that they're lying.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
they're trying to show an audience that they're lying, not the person they're lying to that they're lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people in the movies are like, it's like the sarcasm is really.
Yeah, my favorite thing in the movie is when it's like, oh yeah, I'm a good person, and then they hug.
Yeah.
And while they're hug, you can see like the bad person's eyes, and they just like they have
Yeah,
like
this
evil
one-
eyes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like some
Evil
people were
glint.
like expecting like the Michael Jackson at the end of Thriller with the yellow.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, some people they look just like you and they are plotting against you.
nonstop,
Yeah.
nonstop plotting, nonstop. All right, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I think this is the first time this has ever happened, but your fear chakra is that's a closed chakra for you, buddy.
What do you mean?
Yeah, so what we do is we go through the chakras on this show from bottom to top, and the survival chakra, the fear chakra, is you have to face and overcome your fear in order for that chakra to be open.
Oh yeah.
And if you're still
Oh no,
you're still-
I would have to go deep into some shit.
yeah,
before I do that.
yeah.
That's not gonna.
You don't have
maybe
any,
in a couple
there's
years.
nothing in you that's like, I want to do that.
When I was flying, this weekend, I was thinking about how I hate roller coasters, and I was kind of excited about, I was like looking forward to it this time of like getting on the plane and experiencing the takeoff. Because before it was unexpected, and now I was kind of like, well, now I can anticipate it and now I want to like really. I got a window seat, so I got to look out, and so where before I was a little terrified, this time I was like amped for it. And I don't like getting on roller coasters, so maybe I was thinking, oh, maybe I could try to get on a roller coaster again. But my problem with that is not so much the fear, other than I have no reason to get on a roller coaster. Like getting on a plane is exciting because I have to go to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a reason to be there. But if I had to experience all that tension and craziness for absolutely no reason except for, I already bought these tickets to Six Flags, so I have to, I don't know how much of that is fear and how much of that's just annoyed.
Yeah.
We went to, I took the kids to a haunted attraction this weekend.
Yeah.
And people were like, does Sydney want to come? And I was like, I didn't even ask him. Just like, I feel like he'd be like, why would I want to do that?
I mean, I wanted to go though. But no, you didn't. It would have been nice to be asked.
Yeah.
I felt wronged by that. By the way.
Did you?
When I was working for juvenile probation, one time we took the kids to like the Fright Town or whatever it is they have down in Middletown, and we took the kids into the haunted house, and one of the girls started freaking the fuck out, and this was the least scariest haunted house I've ever been in my life. I was just like, this is nothing. So she wanted to leave. I take her out of there, and she's like, I don't want to do any more of that. I said, you know what? I'll hang out with you all night. Whatever you want to do, it'll be fine. Now, I'm thinking because she was scared of this shitty haunted house that all she wants to do is eat cotton candy and throw fucking Beanie Babies for the rest of the night. She was like, I want to get on that. She want to get on that damn ship, the one that goes all the way up. And I was like, oh.
The swing back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are we doing? She's like, I want to get all the way in the back. Like, all the way, like, back. I have never, that was probably the most in my life that I've ever felt a fear of death.
Yeah.
Just, like, looking straight down, and I'm like, I want this to stop. I'm on this thing because I don't know this girl enough. I didn't know. I should have asked questions. And I just like wanted it to be over because it was just like an overwhelming, what do you call that? Adrenaline.
Yeah.
That I can't do anything with. I don't mind having adrenaline when I can do something with it, like playing a game or a sport, but it's like, I don't like being tied into something and having to experience adrenaline against my will. It feels like abuse.
I know a place in New Jersey where they have that that ride very close to a basketball court. You can go do that ride and then just go fucking light up a court.
Good. Right? Probably a good idea.
That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah. Get all the adrenaline stored up.
Yeah.
Because like I like driving
Like a superhero.
I like driving go-karts. And if I do it, I break all the rules and I get yelled at.
Okay.
Which is something I usually do not do anything to lead to me getting yelled at, but whatever, go-karts, I just get.
They bring it out of you. What
Something
rules
about
do they have you
go-karts.
when you're driving go-karts? It's
They're
like
like, you can't-
stay
they
in the
were
road
like-
and don't hit
They
people.
said you can't, it was like a slick track, and they said you can't corner people off. Like, I can't remember the word for that. It's like, when you like cut somebody off at the corner?
Sure.
Yeah. So I kept doing that to my cousin. It was just him and me on the track. And my cousin still complains about this. He's like, you cheated. They told you not to do that. I'm like, they didn't tell me not to do that because it was an unfair skill. They told me not to do that because it was risky. So I still beat you. It's not like I took an unfair advantage.
Ooh. Wow.
It was a safety issue, and we got home alive. So I won like 3 times.
Listen, I'm not going to get into this little squabble between you and your cousin, but he's right. Your cousin is 100% right. That is cheating.
Because he's too scared to break the rules. That's my fault.
I mean, listen, I don't know what your house, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what your house rules are. I don't know what your family rules are, but, from a technical standpoint. I mean, it was a very eloquent argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was right.
10 points
Yeah.
for eloquence.
So this is a fun section, and this is where we're just moving up the chakra chain right now. And this we call this My Bad. This is where you get an opportunity to apologize to any person, place, or thing, which is a noun. You should know that.
Okay. Yes.
And that helps you just get your energy set back to neutral. It could they couldn't know that they deserve it or not. You know, it doesn't matter where it comes from, but just get this off your chest.
I'll apologize to my aunt's bird who I spit in his face.
On purpose?
Yeah, on purpose. I didn't like those birds.
You were beefing with a bird?
I was beefing with all 15 birds that were in that house. So my cousin used to take them out of out of their whatever their cages and like threaten me with them because he had like these big ass African parrots, and they were mean.
How do you threaten a person with a bird?
You would corner me.
Was he holding
hold
it to
him
the
at
side?
It was like emotional ransom, and I didn't want to go back to my great grandmother's house. I was like, I guess I'll deal with this bird threat.
Wait, so he just had the bird and was
Yeah.
like putting it in your face.
Yeah.
What was it? Would it do things to people? Would the bird haul off?
It was
and,
just like
snip?
some of the birds had different personalities. There was one that was named Malcolm that was very mean, and I was like, if he got anywhere near like opening up his cage, I would leave.
Is Malcolm the one whose face you spit in?
Yes.
Would he yell or would he claw? Like, or he'd like
He
hit
was
you
just
with
like
his wing?
he had bad intentions. He was like a horsefly of like a bird. You know what I mean?
You spit in a bird's face.
Bad intentions.
This is so crazy. Oh my god. I can't. And you're like, nah, this fucker had it coming. This is incredible. All right. So there's 15 birds. All right. So make sure you can move this over to you. So you have 15 birds in this house, and somehow Malcolm is the one.
Dick.
Yeah.
Malcolm.
So he's just one dick bird.
Yeah.
Right. So
The rest of them were pretty cool, and it was like most of them were parakeets. They were harmless.
like small birds.
Yeah.
He's the biggest bird.
He wasn't the biggest one. He was the Joe Pesci of the birds. He was like there was a De Niro bird, there was a Ray Liotta bird, and then he was the Pesci.
Okay, so what was the on the day leading up to when you spit in Malcolm's face?
I don't remember. I think we were just alone. I had him alone. It was immediately after I spit on him. I was like, "Oh shit!" Because I'm like, I can't open his cage and wipe it off because he'll kill me.
It was like
Yeah.
a loogie, like hanging
Yeah, it
on
was
him.
Oh, you got him good.
I got him bad.
So what? I mean, did they find like a dried up loogie on his face later
I never
on?
heard anything from that.
Have you? Did you ever tell your great grandma that you spit on her bird?
No, this is my aunt's bird,
Oh, your aunt's
and
bird.
she can't see this, but
Yeah.
So she has no idea.
no.
Have you
But
ever
she
told-
was pretty mean to me too. She was very mean to me when we went
With
to
the
the
aunt
Ben
and the
Franklin.
bird?
Yeah, when we went to the Ben Franklin Institute, she was very, very cruel. So I spit in her bird's face.
She was cruel to you
Yeah.
at the Franklin Institute,
Yeah.
which is a science museum, basically,
Yes.
where you get to experience and learn about science.
Yeah.
And how was she cruel to you?
I think it was, her and my mother weren't getting along, and basically me and my cousin went to this summer camp that was near where my family was from, and every year was like a different one of my aunts was running this camp, and this year was my Aunt Judy, and we went to the Ben Franklin Institute, and I think she was like so worried about if anything happened to me that my mother was gonna fucking throw a fit. She decided she wasn't gonna let me do anything. So she like kept me under lock and key for the entire day while everybody else was running around having fun. And
Man.
I didn't get over that for a long time.
That was different in my head, but I'm
Yeah.
glad you explained.
Yeah, that was all right. Cool. So then you spit in a bird's face.
Yeah,
So you're really spitting in Judy's face.
it's not. Let's.
Okay, but no, that's a good. Do you feel better apologizing about that? Spitting in her, I mean, have you ever? I've never heard this story
Is the
before.
apology for Malcolm or is it for Aunt Judy?
I think I feel bad about spitting in a living creature's face. I think
Okay.
it was unnecessary.
Yeah, that's
No.
that is like bad guy in a Disney movie shit. Hawking lookies in a beautiful African bird's face.
I don't know if that one was African. It might have been South
Yeah.
American.
It's also like a beautiful bird that's like in somebody's house.
In a
Like,
cage.
yeah, in
You
a
know.
cage. He's already in a cage.
Yeah, man. That's but yeah, does that feel good to get that off your chest? Cuz and tell like have you told people that before? Have you ever
No.
Yeah. Nice. We do, that happens a lot here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got that off your chest. That was a hilarious thing to find out about you. All right. So, what have you learned from disappointment? And can you think of when you were the most disappointed in yourself?
I think when I left college after my undergrad, first of all, I didn't really graduate right away because I still needed like 2 science credits and I owed the university money. And
Did you have like was science a trigger for you after the Franklin Institute situation? Like you just couldn't hack science after that?
I just didn't like science. I was trying to avoid taking science at the collegiate level. I barely got through math my freshman year, so I was just like, let me take like a year before I do any more STEM, anything. And I had taken a science class. I took like this class on natural disasters, but it didn't have a lab, so it didn't count for that Group D credit. So I had to like take
That sounds like an Aunt Judy approved science class. There's no lab, no chance to get in any hijinks.
So yeah, I went to so I like took 2 more classes at Del Tech to like finish getting my bachelor's degree, and then I didn't have it still for like another year. So if, like I left the University of Delaware in 2009, my degree says I graduated in 2011 because that's how long it took me to like complete
Science.
Yeah, not the science. I got the science classes out of the way, but I like owed the university money. It wasn't even that much money, and I just like wouldn't. Whenever it would like come up around people who didn't know me, they were like, "Why don't you have your degree?" And I was like, "I owe University of Delaware a couple $100," and they were like, "What the fuck?" I was like working at a supermarket, stocking shelves. They were like, "You need to get out of here right now and pay them," and I'm just like, I work here. I don't have anything.
Wait, so your disappointment was in how long that took?
It was that I wasn't prepared to finish college, to move on after college, that, it took me to like, I was 23 to like get like my first adult job. I was still working in retail. And I felt really behind. Everyone that I went to college with was, buying a house and, getting married and had, disposable income and going on trips. And I was like showing up at their house parties in my like 1997 Nissan 200SX that had the back muffler hanging out of it like a bunch of wedding cans. And, it was...
And no jump shot at this point.
Yeah, no shot. But the defense was... I was shutting people down. But yeah, that was just like... It was embarrassing and then like I wish that I had... But I just wasn't in my right mind at the time to like make rational decisions about it.
So how did you get over that disappointment, and do you find yourself in a disappointment cycle often, or do you avoid it?
I think after like 8 years of being a professional now, being a teacher and getting my master's degree, I'm over that. Mm-hmm. I've caught up to some extent, but I think my disappointment now is probably more to do with my finances, which is still a problem to this day. There's a lot of financial decisions which I wish I had done differently. So yeah, that's disappointing or an embarrassment or regret. Maybe it's regret.
Yeah.
This is a lesson I do in one of my classes. We do a class about past modals of regret. I should have, I could have, would have, like the scene from On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando, and he's like, I could have been a contender.
Yeah.
I could have been a champion and stuff like that. So it's like I had my students discuss that, and I was thinking about it recently. I was just like, I don't know how helpful this is for me to make my students talk about their regrets because there's like no resolution to the assignment whatsoever. I'm just like, talk about some things that you feel bad about, and then here's some homework. And we're gonna have a listening test. You have to listen to other people talk about their regrets, and you need to understand. And so I gotta fix that.
It's kind of funny. Yeah. So all right. So I feel like so how do you handle moving forward with disappointment or getting beyond disappointment?
Well, you know what helps me with it now? Because like in my head, I'll be like, oh, I'm 34. I'm still living with my mother again. My credit's all fucked up. I'm not where I want to be in my career, in my, relationships, with comedy, with any of this. And I'm like, I get this idea where I'm like, it's too late. I'm way too far behind. So many people I know have advanced so far behind me. And then I remember that I was thinking that same thing when I was 22. It definitely wasn't true then.
Yeah.
So I'm having the same irrational thought. It's the same thought process. So if I was thinking that when I was 22, that was wrong. So it's probably wrong now.
Okay.
When did you start studying Taoism? Like, when did you get into that?
I think the first time was when I was in grad school. We had a teacher come to us and do a lesson. It wasn't really about Taoism. It was about Tai Chi, but I think they're related in philosophy. So he was talking about in terms of classroom management, which is, don't resist, don't feel like in the classroom that you have to control everything, because that's going to make you anxious and it's going to make you bitter and resentful, and you're going to get angrier and you're going to be reactionary, which is going to upset your students, and it's just going to create a bad environment. So I tried to apply that to how I teach. I can when, it's my class, but it's like when you're a substitute teacher, which I've done that too, there's nothing to do except just watch students and wonder if you should tell them to stop doing what they're doing. And you're just looking at them, should they stop that? Should I say something? Should they stop? And it's just like an hour of that. It feels like it's 2 years, and I don't recommend it.
Yeah. Now, were you connecting something when you asked that question?
Well, I was wondering. I don't know enough about Taoism, but do they speak of it's like let things go, right? Like, do they speak of things in terms of it's like your journey that you're on, like that you're not like when I think about letting things go, it's like that you're not having a start and a finish to where you're going and where you're coming from, right? It's more just the experience and the journey in the moment. And so I just didn't know if there was any of that too.
Ansley's a big reality TV watcher, so she needs to know if there's a journey. Is there a journey? Does Taoism have a journey? Like before I look up Taoism, is there a journey?
I think Taoism is not so much about a process, but just a way of kind of living. It's always talking about, I think the Tao, I think it translates roughly as the way.
Right.
And it means that there's not some, it's not like a biblical religion in the sense where there's these rules and this is the way you're supposed to live your life. With Taoism, it's more like there is a way, and it's not about doing certain things or following certain steps or following certain rules. It's about connecting with now and just flowing with it, and that's the correct way.
Gotcha.
Is that a you're like, I
that
can make
enough?
a journey out of that.
Yeah.
I can journeyfy that.
There's no call to adventure in Taoism. So,
all right. I think we're doing good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That first chakra still closed. Sorry, that's a closed butthole, by the way. That's where that chakra is associated with.
That's usually our specialty too. So maybe there's still hope.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that butthole chakra might open by the end of this. It's I doubt it though.
you're talking about the fear one still?
Yeah.
We're not.
But we're good. We're like bam. Second chakra, third chakra,
Yeah.
fourth chakra. Let's see what we got here. Ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
So, what have you learned from grief? And if you don't mind, what experience taught you that? And of course, we don't expect you to just pour out. But just but if whatever you're comfortable expressing in regards to that question.
I think my father died a couple years ago, and I still haven't really reckoned with that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a really painful, slow process. He had lung cancer, and I think there was like, months after where I was like really like psychologically haunted by it, and like had to like push it out of my mind. And I think because of that experience, I still haven't really been able to go back, and I really feel like I like don't even really think about my father that much, just because of like how bad it was for me, like right after he died. So yeah, that was something that I need to kind of go back
Yeah.
and
Was
redo.
it harder watching him go through the process, or was it harder at the very like losing him?
No,
That's
it was
the
harder.
thing.
The process was hard. 'Cause
Yeah.
it took a long time, and he had a stroke, so he couldn't talk. So we couldn't talk. We couldn't have a conversation. I couldn't speak to him. So it was like I would go visit him, pretty much every day in the hospital or when he was staying with my aunt's house. And it was just like, you feel really guilty because I'm just like, how long should I stay here with him? We can't talk. Can't really do anything for him. And, if it just felt, it was like a lot of guilt, because I'm just like, I don't, like I said, like I need, like I was talking about like the bar earlier, like I need to communicate. That was like my relationship with anybody I'm really close to was about conversation.
Yeah.
And not being able to do that is kind of like not being able to get closure for something, and that not getting closure lasts 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you were to apply what you learned from the Tao, what you've been applying from the Tao to handling your grief, what would that look like?
Would be to not try to frustrate myself thinking about what do I need to do in this situation, and just be there and try to find some connection with my father in those moments that wasn't reliant on words and conversation. But I didn't really know how to do it. I know we kind of like, this is like one of those things where you think about movies where you think about things in terms of like films where like, what does this look like in a movie? There's usually sad music and there's tears and there's sad moments. But like my dad was very furious about the fact that he was dying. He was 64, 65, and it was not fun to be around him during that time, because he was just like, you could tell that he was upset, and he also didn't have the ability to communicate about it. So it was just like, it was tense. It was like, this is my father's in this situation, and there's no like, it's like trying to get through it with dignity is hard, because it was like, he's like, I'm not, he wasn't ready to go. It was like really soon.
Yeah.
That is a wild thing to witness and then have to process and somehow move through.
Yeah.
Right. And were you going to say something, Ainsley?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
I mean, because Ainsley,
it's
like,
intense.
yeah, because Ainsley lost her mother recently.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where you try to look at the silver lining in this thing that has occurred, right? Because everybody has to go, and you can't hold on to the idea of somebody living forever, because that's like a self-imposed prison, right? So you start to look at things like, well, because it was sudden, and she didn't have failing health at this point. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so it was a very sudden thing, and you kind of want to hold on to the idea that, well, at least it wasn't a long, drawn-out process, where by the end of it, for their own sake, you were hoping that they died, and good.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest. The day that he had the stroke, we didn't find out till like a month later that he had stage 4 cancer, in his lungs. But it was like the day that he had the stroke, and I go to visit my dad in the hospital, and he can't talk. that day. It felt over then.
Yeah.
It felt like this is it. He's not going to recover from this. And I think he knew that. And, it was just a long, drawn-out process of, watching him become like even more and more of a prisoner in his own body and just having to kind of slow walk it.
Was there any information that you feel like you're able to take from watching him have that experience as if it would be you? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, that was something I went through during the pandemic. I was during the shutdown. I was very isolated, and I was drinking a lot, like every day, copious amounts of alcohol, and it got to the point where like my blood pressure was getting really high. I was having inflammation in like all of my joints, and I was just like, there was one night where I was laying in bed where I felt like, I might not wake up tomorrow, or I might like have some like debilitating, health problem, like something from the blood pressure, like a stroke. And, at that moment I'm imagining, my father and how he went out, the stroke basically, crippled him for the last 6 months of his life. And that was what pushed me to seek out help at that time, because I just couldn't put, just the idea of people seeing me like that was horrifying. And I was like, I gotta do something about this right now, because I knew I couldn't fix it on my own because I was too in the depths of it at that time.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like because I would imagine like since not drinking as much as you were at that point, things are going better for you in a lot of different directions.
Yeah,
Or maybe not.
it's like hard because it's because it's not just there's more problems than the drinking. There was all of society stopped moving for like 6 months, and I lost a lot of momentum in a lot of things that I was doing, and I'm trying to get back on track with it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like you're in a better position now though to handle like the rigors of trying to advance yourself in comedy than before the pandemic while you were still drinking?
I don't know, because it's still, comedy has become very cost prohibitive. It always was, but it's worse now. The gas prices are so high. It's like you want to travel to do comedy. It's like you get a hotel room for one night. That's everything that you've been paid.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not so much about, to me, it's not so much now about trying to get great at comedy and like, as like, oh, I'm going to do all these stages and I'm going to kill and I'm going to get better and better and stronger as a comic until my talent there is undeniable. That to me seems like not a very useful thing to do in the current environment, is to get great at comedy. I don't know how that would really help me and what I want to do, because it's, first of all, I've already seen like, all it takes is something like this has happened to like shut that down and lose all that momentum. It's kind of like when you get hurt and you can't exercise, you lose all that muscle. It deflates. And it's like, what's the point of putting all that energy into building something that's kind of temporary and can go away? And so I'm more concerned with building something more permanent, which is, a fan base or a community or, relationships or a brand.
Just out of fear of losing it.
I don't think it's so much as fear so much as I don't want to put a bunch of energy into things that I can't help me at this point in my life. Trying to be great at stand-up, I don't think is going to help me. I don't think there's any reward for it.
Yeah, if you were saying it in a little bit like with a little bit of a different flavor, you would sound like a drug dealer in a movie. I ain't fucking with shit that don't help me anymore. If that shit don't make me paper.
No, but it was like I remember I was at Punchline a couple weeks ago. I went to go see Godfrey, and I'm sitting there. First of all, they were like acting like they weren't going to let me in. They said it was like a high profile event. It was Sunday.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll probably. I was like, all right, I get Godfrey's a funny guy, but it's like it's Sunday, so they finally let me in. I sit there. The people that work in there, I guess they're like, I don't know what the economics of the situation is, but they're like really on their shit about making their money that night. The servers and all them, and they like won't leave me and the other comic alone about making sure we get our 2-drink minimum and all that stuff, which has never happened to me before at a comedy club that I worked at. And I was like, they're really on their shit tonight. And, it made me think. I was like, why? We're comedians, work in comedy, but this is a comedy club. Why are these servers that work here so much more motivated about getting their paper than we are?
Yeah.
Like, we're actually the artists that people come here to see. They don't come here to see. They come here to see comedy. They come to see headliners, but they come to see comedy. We're the comedians. And we just kind of walking, here I'm going to do my show. I'll take my $25, $35 and my free chicken tenders. And we walk out of there. We never think about, most people, they don't think about business.
Yeah.
And it's like, I should have the same amount of attitude as her because I'm trying to survive just like she is. So she's like, you need to buy your 2 drinks. I should have, I don't know exactly where put that energy,
Yeah.
what direction to put it in, but I need to have that same kind of self-respect and self-value and determination about it.
Okay. So you want to be able to have the same self-respect as a comedy club waitress.
I don't know if it's self-respect, but it's
You're trying to reach that comedy club waitress level of ambition.
it's definitely not ambition, but it's just like I'm not going to go about it the way that she's going about it because I'm not in her position. But I think there's a Taoist way of looking at it, which is to not try to force it. Like I know some people that, in comedy who are like, they're trying to get that short-term money.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I got to get paid for this show. I got to get paid for this show. I got to take all these paid gigs. And there is like a long-term way of looking at it, which is like, I'm going to take opportunities that are good for me, but I may not necessarily make money off of it. But I think those are extremes of being passive and being aggressive about it from a business mindset. And I think that there's not even a middle ground to find. It's like completely like off the spectrum where you're trying to turn yourself into a business. It's like her doing that, coming to me and like giving me a bunch of shit about buying a 2-drink minimum. She's operating from a position of strength because the rules are behind her.
Yeah.
If I don't buy those drinks, they can get security to throw me out. Now they're not going to do that. I would have to be out of my mind to be that unreasonable.
Yeah, you
so
could
it would
also
never
just
happen.
leave.
Yeah, I would just leave. But where was I going?
So the rules are behind her to demand the money from you.
Yeah. So it's like, if
How do
I'm
you
going to make
force
money,
people to give-
if you're a comedian, there's no rules to you getting your money except the ones you make for yourself. So it's like you have to create something yourself that gives you a position of strength to operate from.
I feel like within a year or two, you're going to be like the Wire of stand-up comedy. I see this. It's just like, again, very articulate, very eloquent, but it just sounded more drug dealery. It's like, how do I make people give me money?
I watch a lot of crime movies and TV shows.
All your references of
yeah,
I'm like, I think I know some of those.
Yeah.
I watch like clips from The Wire, like it's like a jukebox on my YouTube channel. Like they just come up, they just run.
Yeah.
That I just rewatched Narcos Mexico season 2 the other day for no reason.
I think you got your reasons.
Yeah.
Research reasons. So, all right. So this next, by the way, great. Thank you for, giving us your honest grief situation. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that.
Problem.
But so what is your favorite lie to tell, or that you've told? And there's extra karmic points if you like reveal a lie that is like currently in rotation?
I don't know. It's nice to be here. You know?
Wait, you mean here right now?
I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing I've been like was struggling with comedy was like I think I talked to you about this at the Raven where I'm just like very irritated when I'm at comedy shows and I'm at bar. I don't like being in bars. I don't like being in surrounded by people doing nothing, and so I get frustrated and then I go up on stage and I try to repress that and try to be friendly and be like, oh, I'm so happy to be here, and like, and it fucks me up because I'm like, it's like it takes a part of your soul out, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I feel like it's something I've been trying to change is like to not go on stage and lie to the audience and lie to myself about how I'm feeling because it creates distance.
What is it that what draws you to comedy? Like, why is that?
She's why are you doing this to yourself? To me, it's just like I can't play a musical instrument. I can't sing. I can't physically dance anymore. Not that I would ever have been any constructive as a dancer. I was a free former. I like to talk. I like to have conversations. And I like to have interesting conversations. And I enjoy illustrating ideas.
Yeah.
And I think when people laugh at something I've thought of, it's a confirmation of understanding. It's like they understood what I was trying to get at, and they appreciated it, and they are a bit impressed about the way I composed it. And to me, that's kind of something that I don't know. I get high off of it, I guess.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean that's a very. I mean that's like very relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to know why I do comedy? Often. Yeah. But so I mean, what made you ask that question though?
You're so cerebral, like the way that you approach life, and I couldn't connect the dots with like what it was that
it's. Sometimes I go up there as the cerebral person, and it does not work. And so it's like I have to be in touch with some emotion when I'm going up there, which has been harder after the pandemic because I used to just be excited about doing stand-up, and I'm not anymore. I have to. It's almost like I was saying to somebody, it's like a marriage. You have to spice things up to keep things, exciting. I'm having to do that with comedy right now. And that's the same thing as like me trying to create my variety show. And it's like, and doing the show that we did at the Raven on Monday. It was like, what was it? It was a riff show.
Like
so
two
it's
comedians get up on stage together and just
riff off topics. So you can't come up with your prepared material. You can't, do your monologue. So it's just, it makes it more interesting because, if I tell this joke that I've been telling for 6 years that I know is funny and it doesn't work, I'm mad. I'm like, why did I even say that? What was the purpose of that if people weren't going to laugh, So, but like if I go up there and say something crazy off the cuff, it's like, well, I felt that. That's why I said it.
Yeah.
So even if people didn't like it, it's like whatever.
Yeah. That's all right. So happy to be here. All right, so now we are getting up into the cerebral area of the podcast. We went through all of the physical chakras. Now we're getting into the metaphysical chakras. We're talking third eye shit here, right? So as you're going through life, what are some things that you would originally thought were separate, but you're learning are the same? Or things that seemed to be two completely separate things, but now through perspective, you're seeing that those two things are actually one and the same.
Well, I think this goes back to what I was talking about with language and performance. I didn't realize that we need to kind of bring that same mentality from speaking freely to how we perform. That makes a lot of sense with stand-up comedy, but it's also true with sports, with
Like, where would that be in sports?
just turning off your mind and just being reflexive in the moment, right? And so there's some games that I'm better at that than others. Ping pong, I can be very reflective. You don't really have a choice. You have to just kind of react very fast.
Yeah.
But if you're playing tennis, there's a bigger space. There's more time to think. Depending on who you're playing against. You're playing against Serena Williams, then you don't have time to think anyway. But so there's that, but it also applies to relationships, not just like, I think I've found it very difficult to be in the moment with my family. I think I was always emotionally distant with my family, and I've had to learn as I've gotten older to be more present and in the moment with them, because I just had a lot of trust issues with my family when I was a kid. And so because I always felt like they were like against me or waiting to belittle me, and so I would just fucking stand in the corner and be quiet. But as I've gotten older, I'll get in there in the mix and talk shit.
Yeah.
Just like I would with anyone else. And so that helped me become better as a comedian when I saw myself taking that part of my personality and doing it with my family, which I didn't really do when I was a kid. I was like afraid to do it. And it's like anything like that. It's like sex, same thing. It's like turning off your brain. I like can't do it. It makes it like impossible. It's like impossible.
I have no problem with that. I come
Yeah.
very fast. No issue turning off the brain.
I can't, and like sex is probably the hardest one because it's like the most thinking.
I can't relate. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what you would be thinking about. Like when you were like, it's the most thinking. I'm like, my brain literally said, "What about what?"
I know what he's talking about. Like,
You're like, I gotta hurry up. He's gonna come. I gotta hurry up. He's gonna come.
No, it's just like
I mean, I get why you're thinking.
Yeah.
All right, so the ideas then that seem separate but are the same. So you started off with English, like communicate, like language and performance, right? And then, all right. So I mean, I guess just that. Do you?
you need a tagline, huh?
No,
Well,
I'm not looking for a tagline, but it's I'm just like I'm curious, like more about like that specific thing, like you finding that connection between language and performance specifically, because you would think as a person listening to this, like a lot of people that listen to this, they're not comedians, right? So they're looking to take everything that they can and apply to their lives, right? So what is even separate about language and performance that had to be combined in the first place? Like, why wasn't that something that was already a package deal for you?
I think people who know me from work will say I'm a very thoughtful person, which is, I think there's an illusion that people like it if you're thoughtful, if all you really do is say hi to them every once in a while.
Yeah.
But if people need you to do something, perform a service for them, to be a leader or to be, a soldier in a situation, whatever it is, if you're talking about sports or talking about performing a task, they don't need thoughtful people for that. So it's kind of, I kind of always took that as like, people always told me I was very thoughtful, and I thought that was a good thing.
Yeah.
But I realized that I was doing it too much. And sometimes you gotta stop thinking. And to really enjoy life. But I think I have something in my head that tells me like, oh no, do that, people will be mad at you. And it's like, people are only mad at you because they know about you.
Right answer?
Yeah. It's like, honestly, it's like I notice this like on social media all the time. It's like those people are only mad at you because they saw what you said on the internet. if you hadn't have said that, you would still be you.
Yeah.
You just would be all bottled up. You have less people mad at you, but you're also not out there.
But like that was you the whole time. It was
Yeah.
just like yeah.
Yeah, it's like we've been tricked into thinking like that's what people want, and it's like you proved from the last 6 years that's not what people want. People want excitement. They want someone to just go out there off the top of their head. That's why people like freestyle battles. That's why people like crowd work. It's why people like the real.
What is the real? Oh, like
Yeah.
the real. Like real shit.
Yeah, people like real shit.
Okay. Drug dealer shit, right?
Yeah.
Get paper, real shit.
Yeah.
All right. So we have, this is the last question.
Uh-huh.
You ready for this?
Okay.
So, one thing that you can't give up and why. It's a 2-part question. So 3-part question. One thing that you can't give up and why. That's technically one question. So one thing that you can't give up and why. And then what would giving it up even mean or look like to you?
I can't give up and why?
See, I'm giving you time to be thoughtful.
Yeah.
I don't want to treat you like all those other motherfuckers. I like thoughtful people. We need more of them.
Well, most people appreciate it, but they don't write checks afterwards. They're like, "Oh, you're so thoughtful. Here's $20,000." Like there's nothing.
Yeah, I'm not
in it.
paying you for this.
Yeah. It's just like it's a service you do for people that is not actually useful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So something that you can't give up. Give you a little time to get that brain churning.
Something I can't give up. This is very difficult.
Because
I think it's the overthinking of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've relied on it so long that
Does it keep you safe? Like, what does it do for you?
I guess what does it do for me? Probably
Yeah, because you seem to be
nothing.
really big on having things be more than one thing. Like, you're not going to tell a joke if people don't laugh because, like, what does it do for me?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things that you wouldn't do because what does it do for me? Yet this is a thing that you do and don't have a reason, like you don't have something that it does for you.
I think I just kind of used to doing it. I think overthinking things allows me to justify stuff or justify what I think about it or my opinion on something or how I feel about someone. Like one thing that I've noticed that I do sometimes is I'll get into an argument with people in my head, and it'll go on for like a half an hour. and then yeah.
You don't get sick of the argument.
Yeah.
I can do it for like a minute.
No,
Like,
I'll
just
go
away.
on. I'll write a whole fucking episode of The West Wing in my head. and I thought that, when I first started doing stand-up, there was like a year of me like going back and forth between being real on stage and expressing something and then lecturing some overwritten nonsense that I thought was very important. And it took me like a year to get out of that because I did not know the difference. I thought it was all coming from the same place. It's all coming from me. Here's a funny idea. Here's another idea that I think is funny. I'll just throw them all out there. And I'm just like, why are people so confused? And it's all about clarity. It's like those ideas that are overthought are not clear. And you've done so much thinking around it. You've built like a cocoon of nonsense to kind of obfuscate what you really were trying to say. And so that's why people are looking at you confused, because they're like, well, he didn't say anything. He's saying a lot of words, and I don't care. And I feel sorry for him. Clearly doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. So then the thing that you feel like you can't give up is overthinking. Yet it's doing nothing for you. What do you think it would look like if you did give up that overthinking?
I think I would scare a lot of the white people at my job. If I just started saying what I felt like saying all the time.
Are those the same things?
What do you mean?
Like, is not overthinking the same thing as saying whatever you want at any moment?
No. But I think there's like that. I think there's another thing that hurts myself. That's really hurts my comedy, is that I really do pick and choose people who I'm willing to like impose my comedic personality onto people. And I think that's why I like had that outlet in stand up, because I could go up there on stage and it's like, well, I'm not imposing this on one specific person. It's just I'm doing this at the show.
Yeah.
But like in the workplace, there's like I pick certain people. I'm like, oh, I can jump out on this person and be a little spastic for a couple minutes, and they'll appreciate it. And then there's this other person over here. Well, this will freak them out, and they're gonna be like, why is they'll make a complaint to HR. They're like, Brandon's acting crazy.
But you can not overthink and still deal with the person as they need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just like, we're just spitballing here. What does a free flowing Brandon Jackson look like?
Aggressive and speaks in very small chunks. And some of it doesn't really make any sense.
It sounds like when you let go, you become my mom. You sound like my mom to you?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like very terse. I use a lot less words. My voice probably goes up into like a higher pitch. And I can get louder.
Do you still use like dictionary words? Like, do you still use like?
Yeah, but it'll just be that one word. There'll be no sentence around it. I'll just be like, dichotomy.
All right, man. So, I mean, that's pretty much the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel enlightened? Yeah.
I feel, there was some things I got to talk about that I haven't got to talk about in a long time, or ever.
Yeah.
So it was good, and I got to, I'm working on this philosophy of Taoism and applying it to my comedy and applying it to my teaching. So it's nice to flesh it out in conversation, because
I mean, that's pretty much what we just did.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
Throughout the different aspects of your psyche.
Because if I try to do this by myself,
Yeah.
it'll get really negative real fast. And then there's just no one else to talk to.
All right. Well, Brandon, so were you going to say something?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah. So we want to make sure we plug your podcast, English for Criminals, right? Everywhere podcasts are.
Everywhere.
Right? So, and do you have a Patreon for that?
No. It's just,
Okay.
I think if I start trying to charge my 35 listeners, the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny because like we still have like under 100.
Yeah.
But we're moving, and we were at 30 something at one point.
Yeah.
We're close to 100 now, so that feels good. Speaking of our Patreon, check out our Patreon as well. And do you have time to stick around and do the Patreon?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're gonna do Brandon's Patreon after this, and we're just gonna hop right in there. So we're not gonna do shout outs because we're gonna keep this thing moving. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to shout out my show, my variety show.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So I'm doing my variety show, which is based on my podcast, Punchline Philly, November 21st, which is a Sunday. It is the show. I told you. You showed up that night at the end.
Yeah.
You saw how fucking high I was after it. I was just like so on one. We would talk about like letting go and self-actualizing and being myself. You want to see that version
It was
of me.
high off
You'll
of
see at
a
this
job
show.
well done, not high off of drugs.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I do not do cocaine.
Okay.
I just sell it.
Yeah, so check that out November 21st at the Punchline, punchlinephilly.com. Check that out. Right? And Anthony, you got anything you want to shout out?
Nah,
You got
I'm
anything
good.
you want to plug?
Nah.
We're good. All right. We're going to hop over to the Patreon. We hope you do the same. And
Wait, unless anybody wants to sponsor me in the fight.
oh, yeah, Anthony has a fight coming up. Oh, wait, this is going to be after the fight.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Take it back.
Yeah. We had to record early because Ansley has to fight. We're recording now because you have to fight. So you missed out on the opportunity to sponsor Ansley's fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
She got you.